we'd like to welcome everyone to the 75th Annual Harry E. Salzberg Memorial Lecture Award and Program. I'm Gary Lapointe. I'm a professor of practice in the supply chain program and one of your hosts for this afternoon. We have a really nice program planned for this afternoon. We're pleased to recognize two very worthy recipients today. We're going to hear from them shortly, as well as recognize some outstanding supply chain students as well. And to get the program started, I'd like to invite Interim Dean Alex McKelvie to the podium for some opening remarks.
Vice Chancellor Haney, esteemed guests, colleagues, students, friends, welcome to the 75th Annual Harry E. Salzberg Memorial Lecture Program. As Gary mentioned, my name is Alex McKelvie. I'm the interim dean here at the Whitman School, and I'm delighted to have you here today because this looks not like a good program, but a great program, outstanding program. Before we get started, I'd like to acknowledge with respect the Onondaga Nation, fire keepers of the Haudenosaunee, the indigenous people on whose ancestral lands Syracuse University now stands. The Salzberg program is a special event for the Whitman School and our supply chain management program for a few reasons. First, this program helps to celebrate the excellence of our nationally ranked supply chain management program. For those of you who didn't know, the Whitman School has the oldest supply chain program in the country. It started actually in 1919. 1919, it's over 100 years ago. And this event, the Salzberg event, is a crown jewel of this program. Our faculty in this area, many of whom are here today, including brand new hires, consist of leaders in their field, journal editors, brilliant thinkers, inspiring teachers, and influencers in the media. The Salzberg Medallion that we'll be presenting today has been awarded since 1949. Hence, the making of this as the 75th anniversary of this award. 75 years is a lot in business, and especially something that you've gone through a couple of world wars, huge turbulence in the world. To be able to offer an award like this for 75 years running is a huge thing. And it's therefore no surprise that this medallion has come to be recognized as one of the most prestigious in the field of transportation and supply chain management. So that's just the first of these reasons. A second reason is that this event showcases industry leaders, talented students, and our outstanding group of scholars. It recognizes innovators, those who are willing to take a stand for what they believe in, rather than what is simply accepted norms. And these are the types of values and approaches that we want to instill in our students. In other words, your leadership, our industry leadership, our thought leadership in this area will help to inspire our students in that next generation of supply chain experts. And I'll say from a big picture, this event reflects what I'll say many of the most important things a globally leading academic program is expected to do. That means bring together people from research, teaching, and best practice from industry. So the list of our awardees is extremely impressive. The topics that they're talking about is impressive, and we're so thankful for the many guests who were able to make it here to Syracuse today. Third, and I think this is the most pertinent part for this year, is that this program is especially relevant as it includes topics that are timely from our distinguished speakers. The topics our speakers are going to talk about today fall at the intersection, broadly speaking, of supply chain management with continuous improvement, globalization, sustainability, and well-being. So those of you who follow the news, and hopefully many in this room will, see that these topics reflect significant areas of what's driven increased attention to the field of supply chain in recent years, and also what's explaining what's going on today, like with the port strike. This area, especially related to sustainability, also aligns with the Salzberg family and their history. Those of you who don't know, is that the Salzberg family actually made their success through recycling and repurposing old railroads. So the fact that we're recognizing sustainability as part of this program is important, is timely, but also shows that the Salzberg family were ahead of their time in this regard. But also as global citizens, and thinking about the students in the back, these issues are things that you all need to really be aware of for the future, and ideally having great, deep insights on from industry. And for that latter reason, I think the Salzberg program this year is extraordinarily timely and relevant, and I can't think of anything much more relevant than what's going on right now in the world that reflects this. So many thanks to the organizing team, Professors Julie Niederhoff, Gary Lapointe for their work this year, the Franklin Supply Chain Board. I see Fran Tucker, who ran this for many years as an emeritus professor, has come back to support the team. Great to have her back. And also the entire Whitman team, Agnes, a lot of, Dawn, the entire team who makes this happen behind the scenes to really put on a great event today. So thank you all for coming. It's my great privilege now to introduce to you our next speaker, and that is the Vice Chancellor of Syracuse University and Whitman's Executive Dean, Mike Haney. Thank you.
Thank you, Dean McKelvie, and let me add my welcome to all of certainly the award winners, the leaders who have joined us from across the country and the globe to be here today at the Martin J. Whitman School of Management. I also want to thank our students who apparently all are deathly allergic to the first 6 rows of this auditorium, but you're here. So thank you all for being here. And thanks everybody for joining us today for what I think is a very special occasion. Like Alex did, I also want to thank the team that put all this together, the Franklin Supply Chain Management Advisory Board, and certainly the team of folks at the Whitman School who made this possible. I'll start my very brief remarks with a little bit of history. The Salzberg Medallion that we'll present today is actually designed by a Syracuse University sculptor and artist named Ivan Mistrovich. It was 5 years prior to the first Salzberg Medallion being awarded that then Syracuse University Chancellor William P. Tully brought the great Croatian sculptor to Syracuse University as an artist in residence and a professor of sculpture. And he actually founded the sculpture program here at Syracuse University and set about designing initially small scale works such as the iconic medallion that we'll present today. And over 75 years, the Salzberg Medallion has been awarded, and it's really become recognized as one of the most prestigious awards in the field of transportation and supply chain management. And certainly in 2024, supply chain management and transportation issues are playing a central role in our world. And, it is very exciting, I think, for the supply chain program here at Syracuse, what's happening in our backyard in Central New York. Micron's decision to bring what will be the largest semiconductor manufacturing facility in the world to a location about 12 miles from our campus will fundamentally transform Central New York, but also create a great natural experiment for our students and our faculty who study supply chain and transportation issues. So it is a very exciting opportunity here in Central New York. And for all these reasons, I'm very, very proud of the university, certainly of the Whitman School, to be on the leading edge of this very exciting field moving forward. The Salzberg Medallion award winners that we'll recognize today include individuals who have pioneered new frontiers in production and certainly through research have brought creative thinking and expert problem solving to supply chain management. And, what they have in common is they have helped us think differently. They have helped us reinvent the way we do things in the world to be more efficient, more effective, and certainly more sustainable. And that includes continually questioning the status quo practices and assumptions to align the field with the challenges of the day. So while we certainly celebrate a rich history of 75 years of this program, I think it's also important that this program be about committing moving forward to continually thinking differently about the challenges that we face as a business community and as a society. And I think by doing so, much like the individuals that we'll honor today, we can quite literally change the world. So thank you all for joining us, and please enjoy the program. Thank you.
Thank you, Dean McKelvie and Vice Chancellor Haney, for those kind words. And we're very excited for today's event and really looking forward to each of the speakers who have joined us today. First, I also want to welcome you all. I'm Professor Julie Niederhoff. I recognize a lot of the students. I'm an associate professor here at the Supply Chain Group and co-director of the H.H. Franklin Center for Supply Chain Management, alongside Professor Gary Lapointe. Each year at Whitman, we have the privilege to host the Salzberg Memorial Lecture Program to honor innovators in supply chain management, and therein to expose our students to innovators and thought leaders in supply chain management. This event is overseen by the H.H. Franklin Center and our Franklin Advisory Board. I'm going to add to our history today. For those that don't know, the original Herbert H. Franklin was a Central New York industrialist who founded the H.H. Franklin Manufacturing Company to build the very first air-conditioned car in America throughout the early 1900s. Fittingly then, for this year's Salzberg Medallion, we are honoring Toyota, known throughout the world for innovation and excellence in automotive technology, but in supply chain innovations that have spread to influence countless other fields as well. Today, we are also honoring Dr. Charles Corbett of UCLA. Dr. Corbett is a prolific researcher, teacher, and influencer in supply chain thought, particularly in the context of environmental concerns and sustainability. To get us started today with the award presentations, I would first like to invite Dr. Aydin Alptekinolu to introduce you all to Dr. Corbett. In addition to being a professor at Smeal College of Business at Penn State and a highly accomplished researcher himself, Aydin has the distinction of having been a doctoral student and mentee of Dr. Corbett. So please welcome Dr. Alptekinolu.
Good afternoon, everyone. I just wanted to say a few things about my doctoral advisor, Charles Corbett. But before I do that, let me say a few things about myself, and then what my experience during the doctoral program and after with Charles has been like to me, and also what kind of impact he's made for the field. So I'm not going to give you like a huge rundown of his CV because that would be quite impossible. But I will talk about him as an advisor. Sure. As an advisor to me and as a mentor to me and maybe others. I will also talk about a little bit about what he meant as a friend to me as well. And then I will touch on scholarly impacts that he's made on the field itself. Okay? So that's the, he's right now at UCLA, you know that, and the title is up there, right? So a bit about myself. My first name is Aydin. The way I teach my students how to say my name is Biden without the B, with no political undertones, obviously. My last name is Alptekinolu, and I usually don't try to help people with that. I just leave it at that. All right. I'm at Penn State. I'm a professor of supply chain and operations management at Penn State. And my PhD was from UCLA. I guess you could guess that. My background before the PhD was on industrial engineering and manufacturing engineering. I held positions at Florida and SMU before, and I do research on product variety, price, availability aspects of supply chains or operations management. I don't know this for a fact, but I think I was the very first PhD student of Charles. And as an advisor, in case some of you are thinking about PhD down the line, what I valued the most was that he gave me free rein on what to work on. And this also continues later in an academic career. The best thing about an academic career is that you're free to choose what to work on. So that was number one. And in terms of different aspects of academic life that I learned from Charles, these would top the list. Research values, what is good research, perspective, ethics on research and life, humility, and writing and presenting well are some of the things that I learned. If you press me to name just one thing, what is the most valuable thing I got from Charles as my advisor? I would say asking really good questions. In research, that matters a lot, and I think this is how valuable is asking good questions This is what I learned from Charles. And beyond that, also later on, as I embarked my career at University of Florida and after, I settled on why I'm in this profession. And I also cannot help but sort of think about what I learned from Charles on what academic life is and what it means. So this is how I would summarize as an advisor what he meant to me. So asking good questions, okay? That's probably a good summary. PhD studentship is really like an apprenticeship. You learn a lot from your advisor, and I certainly did. I was pretty lucky to have Charles as an advisor. And I think Charles means to the field also, to a lot of junior faculty, he's leading by example in a lot of ways. And so he's usually generous with his time, helps you to think for yourself, and his Socratic approach in research carries over to mentorship as well. Again, a good quality to look at in a mentor is that they help you to think for yourself. All right. As a friend, I found him always as grounded on what's important, always fun and interesting to talk to. And at his home, at least at the time I was graduating, he had an extensive beer bottle collection. Just as a side note, right? So a really great friend to talk to and a lot of good questions. So what does he mean? What does he mean to the field as a scholar? This is obviously my summary, right? But he's basically most well known for his pioneering research on sustainability. I think you got that already from the earlier introduction. The current research interests are sustainability, entrepreneurial operations, and wellness in operations management. And he has numerous awards. I picked a few to highlight. The two most prominent academic associations in our field, they gave Charles a fellow award. This is MSOM and POMS Fellow Awards. He has numerous teaching awards and influential editorial roles in a lot of different journals. In my opinion, he has a reputation as an innovative and deep thinker. And not every academic, I think, achieves that kind of status. And one way to think about his research portfolio is the UN Sustainability Goals. And if you look at number 12, responsible consumption and production. And then number 3, good health and well-being. I think those would be kinds of areas where he made the biggest impact. Signature approach to research. He's focused typically on finding the right question rather than first start with a methodology and try to find what to do with it. He's very open to going across disciplinary boundaries. And this is something that informed my career as well later on. And often his ideas were pioneering and groundbreaking ideas in the literature, in operations and supply chain management. This is a short list of areas that he touched on: sustainability, supply chain management, coordination, contracting, quality management, statistical process control, manufacturing strategy, inventory control, entrepreneurship, mass customization, so on and so forth. I don't think the list is full because I'm sure he has a lot more great things to do. Industries, entertainment, chemical, automotive, healthcare, cross-industry data, all kinds of industries at once. And if you just look at numbers in terms of citations, more than 12,000 citations, 46 papers that has at least 46 citations. So that's called H-index. 32 home runs. From our field, at least, I would say a paper that has more than 100 citations would be kind of a home run, right? Ad hoc definition, but if you take that as a home run definition, Charles Corbett has 32 home runs. And he has also 2 papers that I would call blockbusters, meaning approaching 1,000 citations. Most influential papers or ideas: supply chain contracting. There's a series of papers on how economic incentives and strategic behavior in supply chains interact with sustainability considerations, right? So that would be one of them. How or if environment-friendly practices also make business sense. This is endemic in the kinds of publications that he achieved. Carbon footprinting, why double counting of emissions may actually be a good idea, right? Which is kind of a surprising thing to find out. And he has also a series of papers on diffusion of quality management standards globally. A series of papers just on that. The blockbuster papers, the titles are these. The first one is about quality standards and diffusion of them or financial impact of them in the US. And the second one is about supply chain contracting. All right. So this picture is from Cambridge, UK. I did a sabbatical there when Charles the King was being anointed. As a good US citizen, I did not attend any of those events. So that's King's College. So when I say congratulations, Charles, I mean not the king, but Charles Corbett.
Thank you. Thank you so much for sharing with us. Thank you, Aiden. I'd now like to invite Dr. Charles Corbett to come to the front along with Dean McKelvie and Vice Chancellor Haney. I will read off the Chancellor's citation and we will present the Salzberg Medallion. As Vice Chancellor Haney said, the Salzberg Medallion is a long-standing piece of work designed by the sculptor Ivan Mestrovich. Great.
You did it better than me.
I have it written down with pronunciation guide. So are we all set? Great, thank you. So the Chancellor and President has conferred upon Dr. Charles Corbett the Salzberg Medallion. Dr. Charles Corbett is recognized with the Salzberg Medallion in honor of visionary leadership in supply chain management. Dr. Corbett has been recognized as a leader in sustainability and well-being throughout his career. As the world recognizes the need for operational practices that are sustainable, ethical, and fair, Dr. Corbett's research has helped lay the groundwork for these conversations. Dr. Corbett's efforts in solving complex problems and educating others have earned the recognition of Syracuse University with the awarding of the Salzberg Medallion. Signed, Kent Severud, Chancellor and President.
Thank you.
Dr. Corbett will speak with us after the break at 2 o'clock, but first we're going to honor our other award winner.
So I have the pleasure of introducing our next recipient, Toyota Motor Corporation. Toyota is one of the most recognizable and respected brands in the world. Toyota has become associated with quality and with value. In fact, Toyota has set the standard for quality. The energy crisis of the mid-1970s is what made Toyota a household name in the United States. When the price of gas doubled overnight, literally doubled overnight. Although smaller than what U.S. consumers were used to, Toyota offered consumers an automobile that was fuel efficient and well built. U.S. automakers wouldn't believe U.S. consumers would purchase a small car that was made in Japan over a large American-made automobile, but they did. These small cars from Japan were 3 and 4 times as fuel efficient as American automobiles at the time, and it turned out they were far better built as well. When the U.S. automakers realized that they were wrong about the U.S. consumers, they were frantic to manufacture smaller cars to compete. They began producing smaller automobiles, but they could not compete on the quality. I can clearly remember when I was young, people would talk about some of the U.S. small cars and they say it's just as good as a Toyota. And they were comparing U.S. automaker, U.S. cars to Toyota. Up until this point, most people in the U.S. really had not heard of Toyota. My very first car was a 1980 Toyota Tercel. 5-speed standard transmission because I couldn't afford automatic transmission at the time. Had front wheel drive, which was innovative at the time as well. I remember having to wait months for it because you simply could not buy a Toyota at the time. There weren't any on the car lots. You had to order them. I love that car. I drove that car everywhere. I drove it for 200,000 miles. I never had anything go wrong with that car except to change the brakes on that car. That's all I ever did. I think even back then, I was getting 30 to 35 miles a gallon way back then. And that's what car companies now are advertising as a good mileage today. So it was Toyota's mission of making better products more affordable, putting all their efforts into ingenuity, believing that impossible was possible, looking forward, not backwards, and appreciating the value of every second and of every cent. Seeing themselves not as an automotive company, but as a mobility company, striving to offer mobility to everyone is what's propelled Toyota to be the largest auto manufacturer in the world and one of the top 20 largest companies in the world. As one of the world's largest corporations, they take environmental responsibility very seriously. A foundational building block for Toyota has always been to minimize waste, but Toyota has placed a major emphasis on creating a sustainable enterprise with sustainable manufacturing practices with the goal of being carbon neutral by 2050, and to deliver products that are environmentally sustainable through increased research into electric-powered vehicles, as well as alternative energy vehicles such as hydrogen. Toyota defined what value means to the consumer, is define what his consumers expect for quality. It's a leader in sustainable mobility for everyone. It's for all these reasons that Syracuse University recognizes Toyota with a 2024 Salzberg Award and Medallion. I'd like to ask Alex McKelvie and Mike Haney and Steve Brown, Vice President of Parts and Logistics and Operations for Toyota North America, to please come forward for the presentation of the Salzberg Award. So I'd like to read the Chancellor's citation. Toyota Motor Corporation is recognized with the Salzberg Medallion in honor of its visionary leadership in supply chain management. Toyota has distinguished itself as a global pioneer in manufacturing efficiency and quality by eliminating waste, optimizing processes, and fostering a culture of continuous improvement. Toyota has achieved unparalleled operational excellence. Toyota's enduring success serves as an inspiration and a benchmark for organizations globally and have earned the recognition of Syracuse University with the awarding of the Salzberg Medallion, signed by Kent Severud, Chancellor and President of Syracuse University.